Night settles in like a soft blanket you don't have to earn. Out here, the forest holds its breath gently, not as a pause, but as a comfort. Moonlight washes over the grass in pale, patient strokes, turning every blade into a small silver whisper. A ribbon of fog drifts low along the ground, slow and unbothered, as if it's taking the scenic route on purpose. Somewhere nearby, quiet water moves in a calm rhythm, not rushing, not trying to prove anything, just being water, doing water things. The leaves overhead barely sway. If you listen closely, you can almost imagine the trees practicing deep breathing. Honestly, they're better at it than most of us. They don't even need an app. And in this gentle night world, there are tiny lives moving with tiny intentions. Soft paw steps, a faint rustle in the undergrowth, a delicate pause, then another, small shapes that belong to the earth as naturally as moss belongs to shade. Welcome to sleepy nature sleep, where the wild grows soft and curiosity becomes calm. Tonight, let your thoughts follow the rhythm of the earth, your breathing settle like evening wind, and your mind wander gently through the quiet wild. If this place feels peaceful, you're always welcome back. No membership card required, only your presence. Just imagine a quiet campfire that never crackles too loudly, where returning listeners arrive like familiar footsteps on a well-loved path. No announcements, no fanfare, just the warm comfort of being here again. And if you'd like to support the channel, it helps us keep the nightlights low and the nature facts cozy, like adding another log to the gentle fire, quietly, kindly, without turning it into a bonfire. We're not here to light up the whole forest. We're here to let it remain beautifully dim. Tonight, we're drifting into the world of chipmunks, those small, striped companions of the woodland floor. They're the kind of creatures that look like they've been thoughtfully designed by someone who really loves pockets. Their cheeks, especially, seem to say, "Yes, I will be taking snacks for later." And honestly, that's a life philosophy many of us can respect. We won't hurry. We'll move the way the night moves, softly, slowly, in quiet circles. We'll notice the gentle details, the way chipmunks belong to leaf litter and roots, the way their tiny routines fit into the forest like stitches in a quilt. And as you listen, you can let your thoughts loosen, the way fog loosens from the ground. So settle in, let your shoulders soften, let your breath become a slow tide, and together we'll wander beneath the leaves, where the striped little dreamers keep their calm, cozy secrets. Beneath the canopy, the night feels like a room with the lights turned down low, gentle, kind, and forgiving. The forest doesn't ask you to perform. It doesn't quiz you. It simply offers you a place to rest your attention, like setting a warm mug down on a steady table. The ground is a soft map of textures, cool soil, dry leaves, little twigs that lie where they fell, and a few smooth stones that look like they've been meditating for centuries. The air carries the faint scent of pine and something earthy, the quiet perfume of things that grow slowly. Somewhere, a small insect sings a single note and then pauses, as if it also enjoys silence. And in this calm world, chipmunks live close to the ground, close to the details. Their lives happen in the small spaces, between roots, beneath ferns, along the edges of fallen logs. They don't need a wide horizon to feel complete. They don't seem interested in big dramatic statements. They're more like tiny librarians of the leaf litter, organizing the day into neat, practical chapters. So tonight's question is small, nature-rooted, and gentle enough to carry like a pebble in your pocket. What does it mean to feel safe in a place? Not in a grand, cosmic way, just in the woodland sense. The kind of safety made of familiar paths, steady shelter, and rhythms that repeat without surprise. The kind of safety that's more like a soft hammock than a locked door. In the forest, safe might look like a burrow tucked under roots, hidden from wind and weather. It might be the comfort of knowing where the good seeds tend to fall, or which log always smells like sun-warmed bark. It might even be the simple relief of recognizing the same landmarks each day. A stump, a stone, a patch of moss that never seems to worry about anything. Chipmunks, with their bright eyes and striped backs, are experts in the art of practical comfort. They gather, they store, they tuck bits of tomorrow into the folds of today. Their cheeks, those famous little snack pockets, are like tiny reminders that planning can be gentle, not stressful. Sometimes it's just a quiet way of saying, "It's okay. I've got something saved for later." And I don't know about you, but standing before a calm forest like this, I feel something soften in my chest, like my thoughts are finally allowed to unbutton their collars. There's a relief in nature's steadiness, its quiet, repeated kindness. So as we drift deeper into tonight's story, you can let that question float beside you. What does it mean to feel safe in a place when the place is made of leaves and moonlight? And the answer might be as simple as a small creature choosing the same cozy corner again and again. Imagine a woodland at night, not the kind that startles, but the kind that soothes. The sky above is deep and dark, yet not heavy. It's more like velvet, quiet, soft, and endless in a comforting way. Moonlight filters through branches in slow, broken patterns, making the forest floor look gently stitched together. Light here, shadow there, like a quilt someone made with patience. The air is cool but not sharp. It rests against your skin with a calm touch, like a familiar sleeve. You can hear the smallest sounds clearly: a leaf turning over, a distant drip of water, the faint hush of wind passing through needles and twigs. The river doesn't rush. It's not trying to impress anyone. It just moves, steady, low, and unhurried, like it knows it has all night. This is the kind of place chipmunks understand. While we often picture them in daylight, bright, busy, and striped like little woodland commuters, chipmunks are deeply shaped by the rhythms of the forest itself. Their world is built from seasons and sun angles, from warmth and chill, from when the ground is generous and when it becomes quiet. The forest gives them a rule book that isn't written in words. It's written in temperatures, in the length of the day, in the abundance of seeds and nuts, in the softness of soil that can be shaped into a home. It's gentle science, really. Simple cause and effect, repeated over time. When food is plentiful, many small animals gather and store. When the weather cools, many become more careful with their energy. Nature isn't shouting instructions. It's softly suggesting patterns. And chipmunks, they follow those patterns with a kind of tidy devotion. They're small, yes, but not fragile in spirit. They belong here. Their bodies and instincts fit into this environment, the way a key fits into a well-worn lock, smoothly, without forcing. If you were standing here with me, you might notice how peaceful it feels to focus on small things. The edge of a fern, the curve of a root, the gentle scatter of leaves. It's surprisingly comforting, like your mind gets permission to stop carrying the whole world for a while. And there's something quietly funny about it too, how the forest can be so grand, yet the chipmunk's daily concerns are so wonderfully practical. A good hiding place, a familiar path, a snack worth saving. Honestly, it's a lifestyle brand. Tonight, this is our landscape, a calm woodland stitched with moonlight, humming softly with hidden life. And from this gentle setting, we'll begin to follow chipmunks into their cozy routines, slowly, warmly, as if we're simply taking a quiet walk through the world's most peaceful neighborhood. Some animals feel like distant mysteries. Chipmunks feel like neighbors, not the loud kind, the quiet kind who keep a small garden, sweep their porch, and somehow always know where the good snacks are. In the gentle light of the forest, a chipmunk's stripes look like delicate brush strokes, painted with care. It's as if nature decided, let's add a little design detail, and then signed it with a soft smile. Chipmunks are small ground-dwelling rodents, often found in forests, woodland edges, and places where the earth is layered with leaves and roots. They tend to like cover, fallen logs, shrubs, stone piles, and the comforting clutter of nature. In a way, the forest floor is their living room, not perfectly tidy, but cozy. And honestly, a little leaf litter is basically the woodland version of a throw blanket. A chipmunk's day is often shaped by simple needs: finding food, moving between safe spots, grooming, and checking on their home base. It's routine in the best sense, steady, repetitive, soothing. There's something calming about watching a creature live by quiet patterns, as if it has made peace with the idea that life doesn't always need to be dramatic to be meaningful. And chipmunks have a particular talent that feels both adorable and strangely relatable: storing food. They collect seeds, nuts, berries, little treasures of the forest, and carry them in cheek pouches that can stretch impressively. It's like watching someone pack for a trip, except the trip is from one log to another, and the luggage is their face. Nature is full of wonders. These cheek pouches aren't just cute. They're practical. They help chipmunks transport food efficiently, allowing them to gather and move with minimal fuss. In calm seasons, this habit helps build a little cushion of comfort, food saved for later, tucked away in safe spots. It's a gentle form of preparedness. No panic, no drama. Just, I'll keep a little extra. Thank you. Standing in a quiet forest, noticing this, I feel a soft admiration bloom. It's strangely comforting to see how nature solves problems without overthinking. The chipmunk doesn't write a 5-year plan. It simply gathers what's available, then places it somewhere safe and moves on. And maybe that's part of the lesson tonight. Not a lesson in the preachy way, but a quiet suggestion from the wild. Safety can be built from small acts repeated. A few seeds, a familiar root, a home that fits snugly under roots. A life that says, "Here is enough." In the moonlit hush, chipmunks are not performers. They're simply living, striped, small, and wonderfully content with the gentle work of being themselves. If you ever needed proof that nature has a sense of humor, consider the chipmunk's cheeks. There are moments when a chipmunk pauses with food tucked away, cheeks rounded like tiny balloons, and you can't help but feel a warm fondness rise in your chest. It's not silly in a loud way. It's quietly delightful, like a secret joke between you and the forest. Those cheek pouches are not the same as cheeks in the way we think of them. They're special pockets inside the mouth, designed for carrying, not chewing. Chipmunks can gather seeds and nuts quickly, then move them to a safer place to eat or store. It's a practical design, but it looks like the chipmunk is smuggling groceries for a miniature dinner party, a very exclusive one. Dress code, stripes. This habit of carrying and storing food fits beautifully into the rhythm of their world. Forest life often comes in waves, times of plenty, times of quiet. When food is abundant, chipmunks gather. When it's less available, those hidden stashes become a comforting backup. It's like the forest's version of a pantry, except the pantry might be under a log, inside a burrow, or tucked into a carefully chosen spot in the soil. And here's the soft, calming thing. The chipmunk's planning doesn't feel anxious. It feels natural. It's not a frantic scramble. It's a steady routine, like sweeping the floor or folding laundry. Small actions that create a sense of order. Watching that can make your own thoughts feel less tangled, as if your mind remembers. It doesn't have to race to feel prepared. Sometimes, in the human world, planning can come with tight shoulders and restless thoughts. But in the chipmunk world, planning looks like a gentle loop. Find something nourishing, carry it, place it somewhere safe, return. Simple, repeatable, grounded. If you were standing with me under the trees, you might notice how the forest supports this behavior without fanfare. Oak trees drop acorns, plants offer seeds, berry bushes quietly hold their fruit. The ecosystem provides and the chipmunk responds, an exchange that feels like a calm conversation rather than a transaction. And there's something quietly emotional about that. I always feel a little humbled when I see how life fits together, each creature doing its small part, not trying to be bigger than it is. The chipmunk doesn't attempt to become the forest. It simply belongs within it. So tonight, as you listen, you can let this image drift through your mind. A small striped creature with a full set of cheek pockets, moving through moonlit leaves like a gentle thought. It carries tomorrow's comfort with no stress, no drama, just the calm certainty that a little preparation can be soft. Even the act of saving something for later can be a lullaby when it's done with trust. In the forest, there are pathways you don't see until you slow down. They aren't paved. They aren't marked with signs. They're made from repetition, tiny feet tracing the same gentle routes through leaves and around roots, day after day, until the ground remembers. Chipmunks often move along familiar lines, weaving between cover and open spaces like a careful practiced dance. Not a performance, just a quiet preference for what feels known. The forest floor is full of landmarks at chipmunk height. A fallen branch becomes an archway. A rock becomes a lookout. A knot of roots becomes a doorway into the earth. When you imagine the world at that scale, everything feels more intimate. The ground becomes a whole landscape of rooms and corridors, soft and shaded. Chipmunks tend to live in burrows, small underground homes that can include tunnels and chambers. These burrows may offer shelter from weather and a place to rest. The entrances are often tucked near cover, blending into the natural messiness of the forest. It's not messy in a bad way. It's messy like a cozy bed with blankets slightly rumpled, inviting, lived in, real. And as chipmunks travel, they do so with a kind of calm familiarity. Their routes connect the key places in their lives: food sources, safe cover, and home. This is one of the quiet comforts of nature, creatures building a sense of safety through the repetition of place. A path becomes a memory becomes ease. There's something soothing about that idea. We humans do it too. We return to a favorite chair. We know which floorboard creaks. We take the same turn on the way home because it feels right. Familiarity can be a gentle form of rest. Sometimes, standing before a quiet woodland scene, I feel my heart soften in that simple recognition. The forest isn't just trees. It's a network of known spaces for countless small lives. There's a tenderness in realizing how many invisible routines unfold beneath our attention. And if humor can be a lullaby, here's a soft thought. Chipmunks, in their tidy route making, feel like tiny commuters who never need a map. No GPS voice saying, recalculating. The chipmunk just knows. It pauses, listens, then continues, as if the whole forest is an old neighborhood it grew up in. Tonight, as you settle deeper, imagine those little paths between roots. Not hurried, not tense, just steady, like breathing. Let your thoughts follow a chipmunk's gentle route, moving from one safe place to another, with the quiet confidence that the way is familiar. And if your own mind has felt scattered lately, that's okay. In the forest, even scattered leaves still make a homey floor. You can let your thoughts drift into soft patterns, as if you're making a path of calm, one slow step at a time. Morning, in the chipmunk's world, begins softly, not with alarms, not with a rush, but with light arriving like a slow yawn. Even if we're imagining the forest at a later hour, when the sun is higher, the feeling can stay gentle, because chipmunks live by rhythms, not deadlines. Their routines seem to unfold the way dew forms, quietly, patiently, without needing applause. A chipmunk's meals often include seeds, nuts, berries, and bits of plant material, simple foods scattered through the woodland like tiny gifts. The forest doesn't serve breakfast on a plate. It offers it in pieces, sprinkled across the ground, tucked into cones and husks, resting in the folds of leaves. And the chipmunk moves through this buffet with calm attention, picking and choosing like a very small, very polite shopper. There's something soothing about watching an animal feed without drama. A small pause, a quick nibble, a moment of stillness as it listens. Then another small bite. It's not a feast. It's not a competition. It's just nourishment, gathered one quiet piece at a time. Chipmunks may sit upright while they eat, holding food in their front paws with surprising delicacy. It looks like a tiny creature trying very hard to behave properly at a fancy dinner. Except the dinner is a seed, and the table is a rock. and the dress code is stripes. Honestly, it's still classy. And in the middle of this simple scene, the forest itself becomes part of the meal. The background soundscape, wind moving through leaves, distant birds, maybe a soft insect chorus, creates a steady hush that seems to slow your thoughts just by existing. If you let your attention rest there, it can feel as if the world is telling you, gently, that it's all right to take your time. Sometimes, standing before nature like this, I feel a kind of gratitude that doesn't need words. The way everything feels connected, plants offering food, animals responding, the whole landscape holding the rhythm. It makes my chest feel warm, like a quiet lamp has been turned on inside. Chipmunks also gather food to store, not only to eat in the moment, and that detail carries a gentle comfort. They don't just feed themselves for now, they tuck a little ease away for later. Their lives include small acts of care for the future, done without worry. So tonight, imagine a chipmunk in soft light, nibbling slowly, pausing often, letting the day arrive gently around it. Let your own breath match that pace. A slow inhale, like lifting a seed. A slow exhale, like setting it down. And in that quiet, even the idea of breakfast becomes a lullaby. In the forest, there are rituals that feel like quiet housekeeping. Chipmunks groom themselves in small, careful motions, wiping their faces, smoothing fur, tending to tiny paws. It's a soft routine, gentle and repetitive, like folding blankets or brushing hair before bed. And there's something unexpectedly soothing about it, because it carries a simple message. This is a body that belongs here, and it is worth taking care of. Grooming helps animals keep fur clean and comfortable, and it can also support warmth and health in small, steady ways. For chipmunks, it's part of the ordinary fabric of life. Not glamorous, not dramatic, just a calm maintenance of self, done in the quiet corners of the woodland. You might see a chipmunk pause on a log, half in sun and half in shade, and begin to tidy itself as if it has nowhere else to be, which is, in a way, wonderfully true. It doesn't look hurried. It looks settled. A tiny creature practicing the art of being present, and the motions can be almost hypnotic. A few strokes, a pause, a small shake, then more gentle attention, as if the chipmunk is saying, "Yes, I would like to be comfortable in my own fur today." Honestly, relatable. Sometimes I think we underestimate how calming small rituals are. A sip of warm tea, folding a towel, straightening a corner of a blanket. The body relaxes when it senses a little order. And in the forest, grooming is that kind of order. Small, repetitive, reassuring. If you imagine standing quietly nearby, you might feel your own shoulders soften without you meaning to. There's a quiet intimacy in noticing something so ordinary in another creature. It reminds you that life is built from little things, not always big moments, often the tiny, tender ones. And here's a gentle, sleepy kind of humor. Chipmunks groom with the seriousness of someone preparing for a very important event, like a gala. But the gala is just existing, maybe meeting a leaf, possibly passing a rock, very exclusive guest list. Still, the ritual matters. The forest supports these calm routines the way a quiet room supports rest. Nothing interrupts, nothing demands more. The chipmunk cleans, pauses, listens, and returns to stillness. So as you listen, you can let this become a soft cue for your own body, a reminder that comfort is allowed, that it's okay to settle yourself. Let your jaw loosen, let your forehead smooth, let your breath slow the way a chipmunk's grooming slows, steady, gentle, unhurried. In the hush of nature, even a small act of care becomes a kind of lullaby, and the world, for a moment, feels tidy enough to sleep. If you could see beneath the forest floor, you might find a whole quiet architecture of comfort. Chipmunks often build burrows, underground homes made of tunnels and chambers. From above, the entrance might be easy to miss. A small opening near roots, under a log beside a stone. Nature doesn't always label its cozy places. It simply hides them in plain sight, like secrets meant to stay gentle. Inside, a burrow can include different spaces for different needs, areas to rest, to store food, to move between rooms without being seen. It's like a tiny house designed by someone who really appreciates both privacy and snacks. A very specific interior design style, woodland minimalist with pantry emphasis. The soil itself becomes part of the home, cool, stable, protective. Underground spaces can hold a more even temperature than the air above, which can be comforting across changing weather. There's something soothing in the thought of a place that stays steady while the world shifts overhead. A calm core beneath the surface. And when I imagine it, I feel a soft sense of peace. The idea of a burrow, quiet, sheltered, close to the earth, makes my own mind want to rest. Like the body recognizes the feeling of being held. The forest offers many kinds of shelter: thick brush, hollow logs, roots that form natural alcoves. But the burrow is special. It's personal. It's a place shaped by the chipmunk's own small effort. A home made not to impress, but to fit. A home built to feel safe. And that circles back to our question. What does it mean to feel safe in a place? Sometimes it means having a space that matches you. A place that doesn't demand you be larger or louder than you are. A place that lets you be quiet without apology. If you stand still long enough in the woods, you may begin to sense these hidden homes all around. Little private worlds beneath your feet. Not in a spooky way, in a tender way. It's humbling, really, to realize how many lives unfold in the spaces we don't notice, and in the soft humor corner of our minds. It's also a bit charming to think of chipmunks as tiny homeowners, quietly managing their real estate. One entrance, multiple rooms, pantry stocked, no open house signs, no mortgage anxiety, just burrow bliss. Tonight, let the image of the burrow settle you. Imagine cool earth, quiet tunnels, a small resting chamber lined with soft materials. Imagine the world above becoming muffled and distant, as if the forest itself is speaking in whispers. And if your thoughts feel busy, you can picture them like footsteps on the surface, fading as you drift downward into stillness. Under the earth, everything becomes slower, softer, safer. The forest has a way of offering food in scattered pieces, like a treasure hunt designed by a very calm person. An acorn here, a seed cluster there, a berry tucked into leaves like a small jewel. Chipmunks move through this landscape with a talent for noticing. They find, they gather, they carry. And when the time feels right, they store, placing food in hidden spots for later, like a quiet promise to their future self. This habit is part of how many small animals live with the seasons. When food is more available, storing can create a gentle safety net, not in a panicked way, more like a soft habit of care, like putting an extra blanket in a drawer, just in case the night turns cooler. Chipmunks may store food in their burrows or in caches, little hidden stashes in the ground or under cover. It's a simple idea, but it holds so much comfort. The thought that a creature can create later out of now without making it stressful. Sometimes watching this in the mind's eye, I feel a quiet admiration for how nature prepares. The chipmunk doesn't overcomplicate it. It doesn't spiral into what-ifs. It simply gathers what the forest offers and places it somewhere safe. Then it returns to the present moment. And there's a gentle humor in how serious they can look while doing it. A chipmunk with full cheek pouches has the expression of someone carrying important documents. Like, "Please don't distract me, I'm on official snack business." But the real beauty is the calmness of the pattern. Gather, carry, store, rest, repeat. A cycle that feels like a lullaby because it's predictable, because it's steady. If you're listening tonight with a mind that tends to race, this can be a comforting image. A small animal doing quiet preparation without worry. You don't have to solve everything at once. You can do one small thing, then another, then rest. Standing in nature, I often feel that permission. The forest doesn't ask for perfection. It offers a steady rhythm and invites you to join it. And sometimes that's enough to make your heart feel lighter, as if you've been carrying too much noise inside. So imagine the forest pantry, a world where food is hidden in leaves and soil, where safety is built from tiny stashes, where comfort is stored like a secret. Imagine the chipmunk placing nourishment away gently, as if saying, "There will be enough." And now, let your breathing become that same quiet pattern. Inhale, gather. Exhale, set down. Inhale, carry. Exhale, rest, slow and steady, like the forest itself. In the forest, listening is not only something you do with ears. Small animals like chipmunks live close to the ground, where vibrations travel through soil, leaves, and roots. The world speaks in subtle ways there, through faint movements, soft shifts of air, tiny tremors. A chipmunk's senses help it notice these details, not as a dramatic alert, but as part of its calm awareness of the world. When you picture a chipmunk pausing, still and upright, it can look like a tiny statue of attention, whiskers slightly forward, eyes bright but not frantic, body quiet, as if it's simply receiving the forest. The pause itself is peaceful. It reminds you that stillness can be active in its own way, like listening deeply to a gentle song. Whiskers, or vibrissae, are sensitive hairs that help many animals sense nearby objects and changes in their environment. For a small creature moving through leaf litter and tight spaces, that sensitivity can be helpful, like having a built-in set of gentle feelers. A quiet navigation system that doesn't talk too much, which honestly is the best kind of navigation system. And I find something emotionally calming about the way chipmunks pay attention. They don't seem distracted by the big picture. They live in the close-up, The texture of bark, the scent of soil, the softness of moss. Their world is made of small signals, and they treat those signals like enough. Sometimes standing before a beautiful landscape, trees tall above, earth rich below, I feel my own senses wake up in that same way. I notice things I normally miss. A faint breeze, the subtle sound of leaves brushing together, and it makes me feel present, like my body is finally where it has been all day. Chipmunks, in their gentle pauses, seem to practice that presence naturally. They stop, they listen, they move again. It's a rhythm that feels like breathing. And if we add a small whisper of humor, chipmunks look like they're constantly receiving important forest gossip. Like, did you hear? The oak tree dropped new acorns. Very serious news, very local. But beneath the joke is something tender. Their attention is a kind of belonging. To listen to the forest is to be part of it. To respond to its signals is to live in harmony with its slow patterns. So tonight, let's borrow a little of that chipmunk attention. Not the alert kind, the soft kind. Let your senses settle into the room you're in, the air around you, the gentle rise and fall of your breath. Listen the way whiskers listen, quietly, closely, without needing words. And in that calm awareness, you may feel the edges of your thoughts soften, as if your mind is finally allowed to rest in the small, comforting details of the world. In the forest, sunlight doesn't arrive all at once. It slips in through leaves in small portions, soft puddles of brightness that rest on the ground, like warm blankets laid out for anyone who notices. A chipmunk notices. You can imagine one sitting at the edge of a sun patch, half in light, half in shade, as if it's testing the temperature the way we dip a toe into bath water. Then it settles, not dramatically, just comfortably. There's a quiet skill in knowing where to place yourself so your body feels at ease. The chipmunk seems to understand warmth the way a cat understands it, deeply, personally, with great respect. For small animals, warmth matters. Tiny bodies lose heat more easily than big ones, and sunlight can be a gentle helper, offering comfort, supporting energy, making the day feel softer. You don't have to turn this into a heavy science lesson. It's enough to know that warmth is a kind of kindness, a simple gift that the forest gives when the clouds step aside. And there's something about sun patches that makes the whole world feel slower. Even the dust in the air looks calmer, floating in lazy spirals like it has nowhere else to be. The leaves above hold the light in little pieces, making the forest floor look like a mosaic. Gold here, green there, shadow everywhere in between. Watching a chipmunk rest in that warmth, maybe grooming slowly, maybe nibbling something small, can make your own chest loosen. It's a reminder that rest isn't always sleep. Sometimes rest is simply not moving much and feeling okay about it. I know, for me, there's a quiet emotion that rises when I see animals enjoying the simple comforts of nature. It makes life feel less complicated, like the universe is gently saying, "Here, this is enough. Warmth, stillness, a small safe moment." And if we allow a whisper of humor, chipmunks in sun patches look like tiny solar panels, quietly charging. No cables, no complaints, just renewable calm. If humans could do that, we'd spend less money on coffee. Tonight, as you listen, You can borrow this image. Imagine a sun patch in your mind, soft light on leaves, warmth on fur, the forest holding still around it. Let your breathing settle into that warmth. Inhale like sunlight filtering in. Exhale like shade returning gently. No rushing, no striving, just the slow comfort of being exactly where you are, in a quiet patch of light, with the whole world moving softly around you. Chipmunks look like they've been dressed by an artist who loves simple patterns. Those stripes, dark and light lines running along their backs, feel decorative to us, like nature's little fashion statement. But in the forest, patterns often carry purpose. A body that blends with its surroundings can move through the world with less attention drawn to it. And sometimes that's the gentlest kind of safety, not needing to be noticed. In dappled woodland light, stripes can echo the lines of grasses, shadows of twigs, and the broken patches of sun and shade. The forest is full of visual texture. Nothing is a single flat color. And the chipmunk, with its neat striping, fits into that textured world like a leaf fits into a pile of leaves. Effortless, natural, quiet. There's something calming about how well they belong. When you look closely, you realize the forest isn't just a backdrop. It's a pattern-rich environment, and every creature is, in some way, part of the design. Even the bark has stripes. Even light has stripes when it filters through branches. The chipmunk simply joins the theme. And standing before such a scene, trees, shadows, small animals moving with soft purpose, I often feel a kind of awe that's gentle, not loud. Like my heart is leaning forward slightly, the way you lean toward a warm fire. It's a peaceful wonder. The world is beautifully arranged, even in its messiness. If we keep the science soft, we can simply say this: many animals have colors and patterns that help them blend into their habitat. It's a quiet harmony between body and place, shaped over long time. Not an argument, not a struggle, just a slow matching, like a lullaby repeating until it becomes part of you. And if we allow a small smile, chipmunks look like they're wearing tiny running tracks on their backs, as if they're perpetually headed to a very relaxed race. The kind where everyone wins, and the prize is a snack. Tonight, let those stripes become a calming image for you. Imagine the forest floor mottled with leaf shadows. Imagine the chipmunk moving like a small piece of the landscape itself, never forcing, never standing out too sharply, simply fitting. And maybe, in a human way, you can take comfort in that. You don't always have to shine brightly. Sometimes it's okay to blend into your own quiet moment, to be soft, to be subtle, to be at ease. Let your thoughts become like stripes of shadow, gentle, patterned, quiet. Let them drift across your mind without needing to form a single big picture. In the forest, broken light is still beautiful, and in your mind, scattered thoughts can still be calm. Somewhere beneath the roots, a chipmunk's home can feel like a secret pocket of softness. Inside burrows, many small animals gather materials that make resting more comfortable. Dry leaves, grasses, fine plant fibers. These simple things become bedding. Not fancy, not perfect, but warm enough, soft enough, familiar enough. A small nest shaped by gentle repetition. If you imagine it, it's like a tiny bedroom made from the forest itself. The walls are earth, cool, steady, The ceiling is soil and roots, holding everything in place, and in the center, a nest of dry leaves rests like a cushion that smells faintly of outdoors and time. There's something about natural bedding that feels emotionally comforting to picture. It's not manufactured, it's not bought, it's gathered, it's arranged, it's made with care, even if the care is instinctive. And that kind of care still counts. Sometimes I think the most soothing places are the ones that feel held. A nook, a corner, a room with dim light and a soft blanket. The burrow nest is that, but in forest language. It says, here's a space where the body can loosen. And it's sweet, isn't it, to imagine a chipmunk tucked into that nest. A small creature, breathing slowly, surrounded by the scent of leaves. It makes the world feel kinder. It reminds you that comfort is not a luxury. It's a natural need, woven into life. If we had a tiny bit of humor, just a whisper. Chipmunks have excellent interior design instincts. Their aesthetic is earthy cozy, lots of natural textures, strong leaf-based theme, very on brand. But the deeper feeling is simple. Creating a soft place to rest is one of the quietest acts of wisdom in nature. The forest may be wide and wild, but every small creature still seeks a pocket of peace. Tonight, let that image settle your mind. Imagine gathering softness, one leaf at a time, one strand of grass at a time, until you've made a little nest of calm inside yourself. You don't have to do it perfectly. You only have to do it gently. As you breathe in, imagine placing another soft leaf into your inner nest. As you breathe out, imagine smoothing it down, making room for rest. And if your day has felt loud or messy, that's okay. The chipmunk doesn't need a perfect world to feel comfort. It needs only a small, safe space. And you can have that too, right here, right now, in the quiet of this story. The forest has a language that doesn't rely on words. It speaks in textures, in temperatures, in soft sounds, and in scent. For many animals, scent is a kind of map, an invisible layer of information laid gently over the world. You and I might notice the smell of pine, damp soil, crushed leaves. A chipmunk, with a sensitive nose, may notice far more. Subtle differences, familiar traces, the quiet identity of places. You can think of it like walking through a room and recognizing it immediately, not by sight, but by the feeling in the air. Nature does that. The world has a signature. Chipmunks likely use scent to help them understand their environment, where food might be, where familiar spaces are, and how the forest's daily changes move through the ground like a slow tide. We don't need to turn this into a lecture. We can simply rest with the idea that the forest is layered, visible, and invisible. And chipmunks move through both layers with calm confidence. If you stand still in the woods, you start to notice how smell changes with small shifts. A breeze carries something sweet from a plant nearby. The earth smells darker near a stream. A patch of sun-warmed bark has a different scent than shaded moss. It can make you feel more alive in a quiet, tender way. Sometimes I feel a soft emotion when I notice scent outdoors, like a quiet nostalgia that doesn't belong to a specific memory, but to the feeling of being human in nature. It's as if the body remembers something old and gentle. We belong to the earth too, and if we allow a playful thought, chipmunks probably experience the forest like a library of smells, Ah, yes, they might say, if they were very tiny professors, this branch smells like Tuesday. Highly specific, very academic. But underneath the humor is calm truth. Smell grounds us. It brings us into the present. It's hard to drift into anxious spirals when you're deeply aware of the air around you. So tonight, as you listen, imagine the scent map of the forest unfolding slowly. Pine needles, damp leaves, a faint sweetness of berries, cool soil that smells like quiet. Let that invisible map guide your mind away from noise. If you'd like, take a slow breath in. Notice the air in your own room. Even if it's simple, even if it's familiar, let it be enough. Then breathe out, as if you're letting the day's sharp edges soften. Inhale, like stepping into a calm patch of forest air. Exhale, like letting the scent of rest settle around you. The chipmunk moves by many senses, not just sight, and you too can let your senses become a gentle anchor. A quiet way to feel safe in a place. If you watch chipmunks long enough, you start to notice something very soothing. They pause, not because they are unsure, but because pausing is simply part of their rhythm. A small stop on a log, a still moment beside a root, a gentle freeze in the middle of a path, as if the chipmunk is listening to the forest's heartbeat. These pauses feel like punctuation marks in a quiet sentence. They break movement into softer pieces. They make time feel less like a straight line and more like a slow circle. In a human world that sometimes encourages constant motion, there's something deeply calming about an animal that pauses without guilt. The chipmunk doesn't apologize for stopping. It doesn't look like it's falling behind. It simply becomes still, and the forest accepts it completely. And that can be a soft invitation for you too. Even if the chipmunk's pauses help it notice changes around it, we don't have to focus on the practical reason. We can focus on the feeling. Stillness as a natural part of living. Stillness as a small rest, built into the day the way breathing is built into the body. Sometimes, when I stand in nature and let myself be quiet, I feel an emotion that's hard to name, something between peace and tenderness. It's like being gently seen by the world, without the world needing anything from you. Just trees, air, and the steady presence of life. And here's a feather-light smile. Chipmunks pause like they're remembering something important. Like, wait, did I leave my acorn over there? Very relatable. The difference is, the chipmunk doesn't spiral. It simply continues. Tonight, let's borrow that non-spiraling energy. Imagine your thoughts as little chipmunks too, small, quick, sometimes busy. Now imagine giving them permission to pause, not forever, just long enough for the mind to stop sprinting. Inhale. Pause a moment at the top of the breath. Gentle, easy, no strain. Exhale. Pause again, like a leaf settling onto the ground. Those tiny pauses can feel like stepping stones across a quiet stream. They create space. They soften the edges of the day. If your mind wanders, that's okay. Wandering is part of nature. Just return to the calm rhythm, like a chipmunk returning to a familiar path. The forest doesn't judge a wandering creature. It simply holds it. So let your body settle. Let your shoulders sink a little. Let your jaw unclench. And allow the chipmunk's small pauses to teach you something simple and kind. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to be still. And in that stillness, you can feel safe. There are seasons that arrive with fireworks, storms, dramatic shifts, loud changes. And then there are seasons that arrive like a quiet thought. Autumn in the forest often feels like that. A gentle cooling of the air, a soft deepening of colors, a slow rearranging of light. Leaves begin to loosen their grip and drift down, not in a hurry, just when they're ready. The ground becomes a warmer quilt, stitched with gold and brown. For chipmunks, autumn can feel like a season of small preparation. The forest offers nuts and seeds, and many chipmunks gather more often, building up stores that can support them later. It's not frantic. It's not frantic in our sleepy telling anyway. It's simply a shift in routine, like switching to a heavier blanket when nights become cooler. If you imagine a chipmunk holding an acorn, it becomes a tiny symbol of the season. Smooth shell, earthy scent, a little capsule of nourishment. The chipmunk's paws cradle it with surprising tenderness, like the acorn is important, which for the chipmunk, it is. In a way, it's a small piece of comfort, a little round promise. I always feel something soft inside when I watch nature prepare for change. It makes the idea of change feel less scary. The forest doesn't panic about autumn. It leans into it. It lets leaves fall. It lets the air cool. It adjusts slowly, without complaint. And there's a gentle humor in how focused chipmunks can look while gathering, like tiny accountants of the woodland, carefully balancing the snack budget. Yes, the chipmunk seems to say, this acorn is a sound investment. Very responsible. Very tiny. But beneath the smile is a peaceful truth. Preparation can be calm. It can be done with steady hands and a quiet mind. No rushing, no pressure, just responding to the world as it changes, one small action at a time. Tonight, let autumn be a soothing image for you. Imagine leaves drifting down in slow spirals. Imagine the air cool on your cheeks. Imagine a chipmunk carrying one acorn, then another, each step gentle. Let your breath match the season. A slow inhale, like gathering warmth. A slow exhale, like letting go. And if you've been carrying worries, you can imagine setting them down like fallen leaves. Not throwing them, not fighting them, just letting them settle softly onto the forest floor of your mind. In the chipmunk's world, saving food is less like hoarding and more like quiet mathematics, not complicated math, not the kind that makes your forehead crease. The easy kind, the cozy kind, the kind that says, if there is plenty now, it can become enough later. Chipmunks store food in ways that fit their environment. Some keep supplies in their burrows. Others place little caches in the ground. It's a habit shaped by time and seasons, a steady practice of gathering and placing, like making a nest out of nourishment. What feels soothing is the pattern itself. Gather, carry, tuck away, return. The movement repeats like a lullaby, and because it repeats, it becomes calming. The chipmunk doesn't seem to spend time doubting the process. It trusts it. Sometimes I think our minds crave that kind of trust. Not blind trust, just gentle confidence in small routines. A reminder that doing a little at a time can be enough. If we keep the science light, We can simply note that storing food supports survival during periods when food is harder to find. But tonight, we don't need to focus on the reasons with sharp edges. We can focus on the feeling, a creature creating a quiet cushion of comfort. And there's also something cute about the whole thing. If chipmunks had calendars, they'd probably write snack management in every single square. Truly committed, truly consistent, a productivity influencer, but in the most wholesome way. Picture a chipmunk with full cheek pouches, rounded, comically stuffed, moving through leaves like a tiny delivery service. If you watch closely, you can almost hear the chipmunk's internal voice. Important snack shipment in progress. No interruptions, please. Yet, despite the humor, the scene feels peaceful. The forest holds it without judgment. Leaves rustle softly. Sunlight slips through branches. Everything supports the simple task. Tonight, let that simplicity settle you. If your thoughts are busy, you can imagine putting them into gentle storage too, not pushing them away, just setting them aside for now, like placing acorns in a quiet corner. You can return to them later, tomorrow, or another day. For now, rest is the priority. Inhale, gather, exhale, tuck away. Each breath can be a small act of calm organization, like tidying a room until it feels comfortable again. And if you feel a warm emotion rising, relief, softness, gratitude, let it be there. Nature often invites those feelings without asking for explanation. The chipmunk doesn't analyze its comfort. It simply creates it. And you can too, in your own quiet way. Winter in the forest often looks like the world turning down its volume. The light becomes thinner, more delicate. The air feels cleaner, quieter, as if sound itself has decided to speak softly. Even the ground seems to rest, fewer scents rising, fewer insects singing, fewer leaves fluttering. The landscape doesn't feel empty. It feels paused, like a long breath held comfortably. In cooler seasons, many animals adjust their routines to conserve energy. For chipmunks, this may include spending more time in sheltered places and relying more on stored food. The idea of conserving can sound serious, but in nature it's often gentle, less about struggle, more about efficiency. Like choosing to stay under a warm blanket because the room is cool. Not dramatic, just sensible. If you imagine a chipmunk inside its burrow, the picture becomes deeply comforting. Cool earth around it, steady temperature, a nest of leaves, a small pantry of saved seeds. The outside world becomes muffled, softened, and the chipmunk's life becomes quieter, slower, more inward. Standing before a winter woodland, I often feel a strange peace, like the world is giving permission to do less, to move less, to expect less from yourself. The trees are not trying to be leafy. The ground is not trying to bloom. Everything is allowed to be as it is. And there's a soft humor in imagining chipmunks embracing the seasonal vibe, like tiny professionals of rest. Sorry, the chipmunk might say, if it had email. I am currently unavailable. Please contact my spring self. Very reasonable. Winter light also changes the way the forest looks. Shadows stretch longer. The sun feels like a quiet visitor rather than a bold presence, and in that softer light, even stillness looks beautiful. Tonight, let winter be an image of calm. Not cold, not harsh, just quiet. Imagine the forest resting under pale light. Imagine the chipmunk tucked away in warmth, breathing slowly. Let your own breath mirror that, long and gentle, like warm air moving through a cozy space. If you have been pushing yourself, you can let that effort soften. Winter doesn't demand bloom. It asks only for patience, for conserving, for slow living. Inhale, like gathering warmth inside. Exhale, like releasing the need to do more. And as your mind drifts, you can let the idea settle. Rest is not failure. Rest is part of the natural rhythm. Even the forest knows when to quiet. Chipmunks don't wear watches. And yet, they live by time. Not clock time, forest time. The kind measured by sunlight, temperature, and the gentle shift of seasons. The kind of time that doesn't glare at you from a screen. It simply moves, and you move with it. Chipmunks are generally more active during the day, especially during warmer seasons. They often adjust their activity based on weather and light, resting more when it's very hot or when conditions feel less comfortable. This isn't a rigid schedule. It's flexible, responsive, and wonderfully low drama. The forest itself becomes their calendar. Morning light filters in at an angle, cool and pale. Midday light grows brighter, then softens again toward evening. Shadows lengthen. Breezes change direction. Tiny cues, repeated, become a gentle sense of rhythm. And there's something soothing about the idea of an animal guided by these cues rather than constant notifications. A chipmunk doesn't get interrupted by low battery warnings. The chipmunk is the battery. It rests when needed, gathers when possible, and lives in a steady loop of attention. If we allow a smile, chipmunks are basically the forest's time management experts. Their planner is the sun. Their reminders are the wind. Their productivity hack is having cheeks that double as shopping bags. Honestly, iconic. But beyond the humor, the calm lesson is simple. Timing can be gentle. Life doesn't always need to be squeezed. It can be paced. It can be lived in waves. Standing in a quiet landscape, watching light move across leaves, I often feel a soft emotion, like relief mixed with awe. The world keeps its rhythm without forcing it. The sun rises without struggle. Shadows stretch without effort. Everything is allowed to unfold. Tonight, you can let that rhythm carry you too. Imagine the chipmunk moving during a bright moment, then pausing in shade. Imagine it choosing comfort without guilt. Then imagine yourself doing the same, choosing rest because it feels right. Inhale, like morning light arriving. Exhale, like evening light settling. Let your breath become your own gentle calendar. Each inhale a small sunrise in your chest. Each exhale a soft dusk. And if your thoughts begin to drift into tomorrow, that's okay. Just let them drift like shadows. They can be present without demanding your attention. The chipmunk doesn't plan the entire year at once. It follows the day, one gentle cue at a time. Chipmunks don't live alone in the forest. They share their world with a quiet community. Birds above, insects below, squirrels in the branches, deer moving softly through distant trees. Even the plants feel like neighbors. Ferns unfolding slowly, mushrooms appearing like tiny umbrellas, moss spreading patiently across stones. This ecosystem isn't a stage for drama. It's a network of lives gently overlapping. Each creature has its own routine, its own pace, its own needs. and chipmunks fit into that community like a familiar note in a calm song. Chipmunks interact with their environment in simple ways, eating seeds and nuts, moving through undergrowth, storing food. In doing so, they can influence the forest too. Seeds are gathered and moved. Nuts are hidden and sometimes left behind. The forest reshapes itself slowly through thousands of small actions, not loud, not sudden, just gradual, like a long story being written one quiet sentence at a time. And there's something deeply comforting about that. The idea that small actions matter, even when they're not noticed. A chipmunk carrying a seed might not look important, but over time, these movements can help shape the living pattern of the woodland. If you stand still long enough, you can almost feel the community around you. Not crowded, just present. The air hums softly with life. Even silence feels alive, like a room full of gentle breathing. I often feel a quiet tenderness in moments like that. The realization that you are not separate from nature. You are simply another being standing within it, watching, listening, breathing, belonging, even for a moment. And if we tuck in a tiny joke, chipmunks are like the forest's enthusiastic interns, always carrying something, always moving between departments, always looking like they're on an important mission. Seed delivery for the future oak tree, they might say. Very official. But truly, the forest community is built on countless small roles, performed quietly. And that quiet cooperation is one of nature's most soothing gifts. It shows you that life can be interconnected without being chaotic. Tonight, let the image of the woodland community wrap around you like soft air. Birds settling in trees, insects humming faintly, a chipmunk pausing near a root, leaves shifting gently overhead, and as your mind relaxes, you can let yourself feel held by that sense of belonging. You don't have to carry everything alone. Even the forest is made of many small lives supporting the whole. In the forest, sound arrives in layers. There's the broad layer, the wind moving through branches, a gentle hush that feels like the world exhaling. Then there's the closer layer, leaves shifting, a twig settling, the soft tap of something small on bark. And then, underneath it all, there's a quieter layer still, the tiny movements that most people miss unless they slow down enough to hear them. Chipmunks live inside that quiet layer. Their world is full of small sounds, the faint scratch of paws on soil, the delicate rustle of leaf litter, a soft, nibbling sound that feels almost imaginary. These sounds are not loud. They don't demand attention. They feel like the forest whispering to itself. Listening to nature like this can change something in you. It can soften your thoughts, the way fog softens the outlines of trees. It's hard to stay tense when your attention is resting on something so gentle. A leaf turning over is not an emergency. A branch creaking is not a deadline. The forest doesn't speak in urgency. It speaks in rhythm. Chipmunks, with their sensitive awareness, likely use sound as part of how they move through the environment. They pause, they listen, they continue, again and again, like a calm routine. And the routine itself becomes soothing to imagine, a small creature responding to a world that is mostly quiet. If you were standing nearby, you might feel your own senses become sharper in a peaceful way. You might notice how much sound exists even in stillness. The forest is never truly silent. It simply soft. Sometimes I feel a tender emotion in moments like that, like the world is holding a secret and letting me stand close enough to hear it. Not a dramatic secret, a gentle one, a reminder that life can be quiet and still be full. And if we let a tiny bit of humor drift in, chipmunks probably think we're the loud ones. Imagine a chipmunk hearing a human footstep and thinking, "Ah yes, the giant is returning. Here comes the thunder." Very polite of the forest to tolerate us honestly. Tonight, let the forest's soundscape become a lullaby. Imagine the small orchestra of leaves, no sharp notes, no sudden crescendos, just soft textures, wind in branches, distant water, tiny paws moving gently through the undergrowth. Inhale like the wind entering the canopy. Exhale like the leaves settling again. If your mind wanders, bring it back to sound. The smallest sound you can imagine, the softest. Let it be enough. Let it cradle you. Night in the forest doesn't feel like an ending. It feels like a gentler version of the world. The air cools, the shadows deepen, and everything becomes slightly quieter, as if the landscape has dimmed its own lights to help itself rest. Moonlight slips across the ground in pale shapes, turning rocks into smooth silver islands and leaves into quiet little mirrors. Chipmunks are usually more active during the day, but night still matters to them. Night is the backdrop that holds their shelters, their stored food, their hidden paths. Even when they are resting, the night is there, steady, calm, like a soft guardian made of darkness and air. And there's something comforting about that. The idea that rest happens within a world that keeps breathing. The forest doesn't stop just because a chipmunk sleeps. It continues gently, holding the burrow in its arms of soil and root. If you imagine a chipmunk tucked inside its nest of leaves, you might feel your own body relax in sympathy. The chipmunk doesn't need to keep moving to be valuable. It simply rests. It trusts the night. It trusts the shelter it has made. And that trust is soothing. Standing under moonlight, I often feel a quiet awe, like I'm watching the world in its most honest form. No bright distractions, no harsh edges, just dim light and soft shapes. It makes me want to speak quietly, even in my own mind. And if we allow one gentle joke, chipmunks, with their stored snacks, are basically the forest's bedtime planners. They have their night routine sorted, a cozy nest, a pantry nearby, and absolutely no scrolling. Honestly, we should take notes. Tonight, let the moonlight become a calming presence in your imagination. Picture it sliding over leaves like a slow hand smoothing a blanket. Picture the forest floor resting, the water moving quietly, the air cool and still. Inhale, like drawing in the calm of the night. Exhale, like letting your thoughts settle into darkness. Night doesn't demand anything from you. It doesn't ask you to solve. It doesn't ask you to be impressive. It simply offers a quiet space to soften. And as we finish this exploration journey, you can let that quiet deepen. We've wandered through chipmunk routines, feeding, grooming, storing, resting, and all of it has led us here, to the gentle truth that life can be small, steady, and safe. Somewhere in the forest, a path exists that no one built on purpose. It isn't paved. It isn't signed. It isn't meant for tourists or postcards. It's simply the result of small feet, choosing the same route again and again, quietly, patiently, until the ground begins to remember. That's one of the gentlest wonders of nature. Memory without a mind that tries. Memory held in the shape of grass pressed down, in the slight clearing between roots, in a faint tunnel through ferns. The landscape keeps these soft records the way a blanket keeps warmth, subtle, quiet, real. A chipmunk's path is not just a way to move. It's a relationship with place, a familiar curve around a stone, a small pause near a log, a shortcut beneath a low branch. Over time, these little choices become a map of comfort, routes that feel safe because they are known. And when I think about that, I feel something tender in my chest. There's a quiet intimacy in returning, in knowing where you are, in moving through the world without needing to rethink every step. Nature shows us that familiarity can be soothing. The forest doesn't demand novelty every day. It allows repetition. It allows the same leaf-scented corridor to be walked again and again and again. And somehow, that repetition doesn't become dull. It becomes restful. Sometimes we humans treat repetition like a failure of imagination. But in nature, repetition is a kind of wisdom, a way of saying, this works, this feels right, this is home. And if we add a feather-light smile, chipmunks are basically the forest's tiny commuters, taking the same reliable route because it's comfortable. No scenic detours required. No, let's reinvent the wheel. Just, this path is good. I trust it. Honestly, that's emotional maturity. There are other kinds of landscape memory too. Tree rings keeping time, animal tracks pressing stories into mud, fallen leaves layering the ground like pages of a very slow book. Even rocks hold memory, carved by water and wind. Everything keeps a record, even if it never speaks of it. Tonight, you can let this idea become a soft comfort. If your mind has been tired of constant decisions, imagine a path you don't have to choose anymore, a familiar route through calm, a way of returning to yourself without effort. Inhale, like stepping onto that remembered path. Exhale, like letting your body follow it without thinking. And as you drift, you might notice your breathing is a path too. You've walked it all your life. It knows the way. You can trust it to carry you, slowly, gently, back into rest. There's a kind of success in the forest that never makes noise. Moss doesn't hurry. Moss doesn't announce itself. It simply spreads, soft, steady, patient, until a rock becomes a green cushion and a fallen log looks like it's wearing a velvet coat. And chipmunks live among these quiet successes. They step across moss, rest near it, pass beside stones softened by it. Moss doesn't chase them, it just exists. And somehow, that calm presence changes the feeling of the whole forest. I love moss, not in a dramatic way, more like in a gentle, grateful way. It makes hard things look soft. It turns sharp edges into pillows. It seems to whisper, there's no rush. And honestly, that's a message many of us could use more often. In nature, adaptation and thriving don't always come with speed. Sometimes they come with patience, consistency, and tiny steps repeated. Chipmunks gather seeds one at a time. Moss grows one delicate thread at a time. Trees add rings, one quiet season at a time. The forest becomes lush through accumulation, slowly, sweetly, without needing to sprint. And here's the warm, sleepy humor. Moss is living proof that slow can still be wildly successful. Moss is basically the forest's quiet overachiever. No meetings, no deadlines, just steady growth and excellent vibes. Chipmunks, too, thrive through small routines. They don't reinvent their lives each day. They repeat what works, adjust gently, and keep going. Their comfort is built from tiny habits: gathering, storing, resting, grooming, returning home. It's all so simple that it feels almost like a lullaby. There's a soft lesson here. If we let it be soft, you don't have to grow quickly to grow meaningfully. You don't have to be loud to be real. The forest is full of gentle lives that matter deeply, even when no one is watching. Standing in a quiet woodland, noticing moss and chipmunks and the slow rhythm of everything, I often feel my own heartbeat calm down, like it's sinking to the forest's pace, like my body remembers a slower language. Tonight, let moss be an image for your mind. Imagine soft green spreading over stone, covering it in calm. Imagine your thoughts being covered the same way, not erased, not fought, just softened. Inhale, like a slow, steady growth. Exhale, like settling into softness. If your day has felt rushed, you can allow yourself to be moss for a while. Quiet, patient, unbothered, still successful in the only way that matters tonight. You are here, breathing, and slowly returning to rest. The forest is not held together by one grand gesture. It's held together by small threads. A bee visiting a flower, a bird carrying a seed, a breeze moving pollen, a chipmunk gathering nuts and, without intending to, moving the forest's future from one place to another. These are gentle forms of cooperation, not organized, not announced, but real all the same. Chipmunks, in their quiet routines, can influence where seeds end up. When seeds are carried, stored, and sometimes forgotten, new plants can grow in new places. It's not a dramatic partnership. It's simply the ecosystem breathing and shifting through countless tiny actions. And that's one of the most calming things about nature. It doesn't rely on perfection. It relies on repetition, on many small contributions adding up, like a soft choir where no single voice needs to dominate. When I think about that, I feel a warm gratitude. It makes life feel less lonely. It reminds me that even small efforts matter, whether you're a chipmunk carrying an acorn or a person doing one gentle thing in a busy day. And if we let a tiny joke float by, chipmunks are like the forest's unofficial couriers. Very dedicated, always on delivery. If they had uniforms, they'd be tiny. If they had badges, they'd be made of leaf. But the humor only works because the truth underneath is sweet. Nature is full of quiet teamwork. Even the soil participates, holding nutrients, supporting roots, keeping water available. Even fungi, hidden, thread-like, connect plants beneath the ground. The forest is stitched together invisibly, like a blanket made by patient hands. Tonight, you can let that image comfort you. A world where support is everywhere, even when you can't see it. A world where life is connected by soft threads rather than loud commands. As you listen, imagine those threads, roots, fungal networks, seed trails, the gentle paths animals travel. Imagine chipmunks moving through the system like small pulses of motion, contributing without needing to know they're contributing. And maybe, in a quiet human way, you can let yourself feel held by that idea. You don't have to do everything alone. Life is built to be shared, supported, connected. Inhale, like drawing in a sense of belonging. Exhale, like letting your shoulders soften. The forest doesn't ask for grand heroics. It asks for small, steady living. And tonight, that's all you need too. One gentle breath, then another, woven into the quiet threads of rest. Adaptation in nature often sounds like a big, heavy word, but when you look closely, it can feel more like poetry. A chipmunk's cheek pouches, soft pockets designed for carrying food, a body shaped for quick movement along ground and roots, a coat that fits the climate it lives in. These aren't dramatic inventions. They're quiet refinements, shaped slowly over long time, like a poem rewritten line by line until it reads smoothly. The forest itself is full of adaptations that feel tender rather than intense. Leaves that change color and let go when the season cools. Trees that grow thicker bark. Plants that time their growth to light and warmth. Everything is listening to the world and responding in soft ways. And standing before that, I often feel a gentle awe, like the world is wiser than we give it credit for. Not wise in a loud, speech-making way. Wise in a steady, lived-in way, the kind of wisdom that doesn't need applause. Chipmunks embody that quiet wisdom. They don't fight the seasons. They work with them. They gather when food is available. They rest more when the world cools. They follow the forest's cues with a calm responsiveness that feels peaceful to witness. And if we tuck in a soft smile, chipmunks are basically the forest's tiny planners and logisticians. Their cheeks are storage. Their burrow is organization. Their stripes are branding. Honestly, they're running a very small, very efficient operation. But beyond the humor is a comforting thought. Adaptation doesn't have to be harsh. It can be gentle. It can be the slow adjustment of a routine, the quiet shift of a habit, the decision to choose comfort and safety when the world changes. Tonight, you don't have to adapt to everything at once. You don't have to solve tomorrow. You can simply practice one small adaptation, resting, letting your body settle, letting your mind slow. Inhale, like taking in what you need. Exhale, like releasing what you don't. Nature adapts without self-judgment. A tree doesn't shame itself for dropping leaves. A chipmunk doesn't criticize itself for resting more in cooler seasons. It simply responds, and that softness is a kind of healing to witness. So let this be your gentle poetry tonight. You are allowed to change pace. You are allowed to soften. You are allowed to listen to your own internal seasons. And for now, the season is rest. One of the quiet comforts of the natural world is how often it returns. The sun returns each morning. The seasons circle back. The same winds pass through the same branches. Even when things change, there is a sense of repetition, a steady loop that makes life feel held. Chipmunks live inside these returning patterns. They return to familiar paths, familiar shelter, familiar food sources. Their world is not one long straight line forward. It's a set of circles and loops, home to forest floor to home, again and again. There's something deeply soothing about that. It's like the forest is saying, you don't have to keep reinventing yourself. You can return. You can repeat. You can be comforted by what is familiar. Sometimes I think humans underestimate the healing power of again. we're often taught to chase new. But nature gently suggests that returning is not failure, it's belonging. The tree returns to leafing. The creek returns to its curve. The chipmunk returns to its burrow. And none of it feels boring. It feels right. And if we add a warm little joke, chipmunks are very loyal to their favorite roots. They're like, "This is my path, and I will be taking it forever." Honestly, same. I have one favorite hoodie and I refuse to apologize. Tonight, you can let this idea soften you. Returning is safe. Returning is restful. You can return to your breath as many times as you need. Each return is a small act of kindness, like guiding a sleepy child back to bed. Inhale, return to the present. Exhale, return to softness. And if your thoughts wander, let them. A chipmunk wanders too. It explores, then comes back. That's the pattern. Exploration and return. Curiosity and home. As you listen, imagine the chipmunk moving through leaf shadows, then drifting back to its quiet nest. Imagine the forest welcoming it back without question. Imagine your own mind being welcomed back the same way. No scolding, no pressure. Just a gentle return, again and again, until the returning itself becomes a lullaby. The forest feels wise, but it doesn't feel like it's trying to be. It doesn't sit down and make plans. It doesn't hold meetings about efficiency. It simply responds, slowly, steadily, to light and water, to warmth and cold, to the gentle changes that move through the seasons like a quiet tide. In that way, the forest can feel like it learns, not in a human, thought-based way, more like a living system adjusting itself over time, the way your eyes adjust to darkness, softly, naturally, without drama. Chipmunks are part of this learning landscape. Their routines fit into the forest's feedback loops. Food becomes available, gathering increases, weather cools, activity shifts, shelter matters, burrows become central. It's all very calm, very responsive, like a slow dance where no one steps on anyone's toes because the music is gentle. And I find that deeply comforting. There's a kind of relief in realizing that life doesn't always need to be forced. In nature, so much happens because of quiet response. Plants turn toward light, roots reach toward moisture, animals adjust their routines. The world doesn't push, it nudges. Sometimes I stand in front of a landscape and feel my own mind loosen, as if it finally realizes it doesn't have to hold everything so tightly. The forest teaches you, without lecturing, that softness can still be effective. That slow change can still be real. And if we let in a tiny smile, the forest is basically a calm genius. It never brags, it just keeps functioning beautifully. No resume, no LinkedIn, no motivational quotes on a mug, just competence. Chipmunks, too, show a kind of quiet intelligence, not the kind that solves puzzles on stage, but the kind that lives well. They know where shelter feels safe. They know how to gather and store. They know how to move through their environment with a steady awareness. Tonight, you don't have to be smart in a loud way either. You can be smart like the forest, responsive, gentle, patient. You can let your body guide you toward rest without overthinking it. Inhale, notice what you need. Exhale, give yourself permission. Maybe you need softer shoulders. Maybe you need slower breathing. Maybe you need fewer thoughts. The forest doesn't argue with its needs, it simply adjusts. So let your mind settle into that quiet learning. Let your thoughts be like leaves turning toward light without effort. Let your rest be like roots finding water without struggle. Let the night carry you gently into the calm that nature seems to know by heart. In the forest, endings do not slam doors. They close softly. A leaf lets go. A flower fades. A berry falls. A season shifts. And none of it feels like a failure. It feels like a cycle turning, like a wheel rolling quietly forward. Chipmunks live within these cycles too. Food comes and goes. Light grows longer, then shorter. Warmth arrives, then retreats. The chipmunk's life is shaped by these soft endings and gentle beginnings, adjusting without complaint, returning to familiar patterns, trusting that the world will keep moving. There's something deeply soothing in that trust. As humans, we sometimes cling to endings like they're cliffs. We worry about the moment something changes, or closes, or fades. But nature treats endings like part of the texture of life. The forest doesn't mourn every fallen leaf as a tragedy. It turns it into soil. It turns it into nourishment. It turns it into future. And standing before that truth, I often feel a quiet tenderness, like my heart is being taught how to soften, not to ignore sadness, but to hold it gently, to let it be part of the cycle, not a permanent weight. If we add a tiny bit of humor, leaves fall with the confidence of someone who has done this every year and is not interested in feedback. I'm done, the leaf says. Goodbye. Very professional, very seasonal. Chipmunks, in their own way, also practice soft endings. They finish a meal. They stop gathering for the day. They return home. They rest. These aren't dramatic transitions. They're simple closures, a quiet enough spoken by behavior rather than words. Tonight, you can let that idea help you. You can let your day end softly. You can stop trying to carry it forward into the night. You can set it down like a leaf drifting onto the forest floor. Inhale, like gathering the last light of the day. Exhale, like letting it fade. If there's something unresolved, it can wait. Nature is patient with unfinished things. The forest is full of half-buried stories, seeds waiting, buds resting, soil holding potential. Not everything needs to be completed right now, so allow the night to become a gentle beginning, the beginning of rest, the beginning of stillness, the beginning of a quieter mind. And as you drift, remember, in nature, endings are never harsh. They are simply the soft turning of the world toward what comes next. Chipmunks remind us of something surprisingly comforting. Smallness can be safe. In a world that often celebrates being big achievements, big opinions, big energy, there's a gentle relief in watching a creature that thrives by being small. A chipmunk doesn't try to fill the whole forest. It doesn't try to be louder than the wind or taller than the trees. It simply lives in the spaces that fit it, under roots, beside stones, within the hush of leaves. And there's beauty in that. Small bodies fit into small shelters. Small needs can be met with small, steady routines. A few seeds, a tucked-away burrow, a familiar path. The chipmunk's life is not tiny in meaning, it's just appropriately scaled. It belongs. Sometimes, standing in nature, I feel my own sense of bigness dissolve, the big worries, the big expectations. And it's such a relief, like taking off a heavy coat I didn't realize I was wearing. The trees don't ask me to be extraordinary. The sky doesn't demand I prove anything. The forest simply allows me to be a small creature standing quietly among other small and large lives. If we let in a whisper of humor, chipmunks have perfected the art of small confidence. They walk around like they own the place, yet they're the size of a sandwich. It's honestly inspiring. I want that level of self-assurance with that level of cuteness. But under the smile is a soft truth. Being small can mean being focused, close to the ground, close to the details that matter. There's less pressure to be everything when you allow yourself to be just you. Tonight, you can practice that kind of smallness. You don't have to solve the entire world. You don't have to carry every thought. You can shrink your focus down to something simple: your breath, the way your body feels supported, the softness of your bedding, the gentle quiet around you. Inhale one small moment. Exhale another small moment. You can let your mind become a small, cozy space like a burrow, not cramped, comforting. A place where you don't need to expand, perform, or shine. A place where rest is enough. Chipmunks teach us that tiny routines can create deep safety. And tonight, your routine is simple. Breathe slowly, soften gently, and allow yourself to be small inside the quiet of this story. And now, we drift back softly toward our question. What does it mean to feel safe in a place? Not as a puzzle to solve, but as a scent to recognize, like something familiar in the air, like the feeling of stepping into a room where the lighting is warm and no one expects anything from you. In the chipmunk's world, safety seems to be built from small, steady elements. A burrow tucked beneath roots, familiar paths that the feet already know, food stored quietly, like a gentle promise, a nest lined with leaves, and perhaps most of all, a rhythm that repeats: gather, rest, return, until the very repetition becomes comforting. When you look at it that way, safety doesn't seem complicated. It doesn't require grand declarations. It's made of little choices that create softness: a shelter, a routine, a return. Outside, the forest begins to quiet even more. The wind eases into a slower pace. The leaves settle. The water smooths into a calmer surface. The whole world seems to loosen its grip, as if it too is preparing for sleep. And in this quiet, I feel a tenderness that's hard to explain, like nature is offering reassurance without words, like it's saying, you can relax now. You can stop holding so tightly. Maybe safety tonight is simply the permission to rest, the permission to let your thoughts wander without needing to follow them, the permission to be carried by something steadier than your mind, your breath, your body, the quiet rhythm of the earth. If your mind is busy, let it be busy in the background, like distant water. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to fix it. Just let it move softly while you sink into stillness. Inhale, like returning to a familiar path. Exhale, like stepping into the shelter of quiet. If there's a part of you that has been waiting for proof that it's okay to sleep, let the forest be your proof. The trees do not worry about staying awake. The chipmunk does not apologize for resting. The night does not demand productivity. Everything simply settles. So as we return to our question, let it soften into a simple feeling. Safety can be a place. Safety can be a routine. Safety can be this moment, right here, where nothing needs to happen, and you are allowed to drift. The forest begins to change in a way that is almost invisible. Not a dramatic change, just a soft settling. The wind that earlier brushed the canopy now moves more gently, as if it's grown sleepy. Leaves that once shifted and whispered now rest more quietly against one another. Even the spaces between sounds feel wider, like the night is giving everything more room. If there is water nearby, a stream, a pond, a ribbon of river, its surface begins to look smoother. Not perfectly still, but calmer, like a slow exhale. The reflections grow softer. The light becomes dimmer, and the whole scene takes on that late-night feeling of being tucked in. Chipmunks, in their own way, match this shift. The day's movement gives way to quieter hours. Shelter becomes more central. Nesting softness becomes more appealing. The forest doesn't announce bedtime. It simply becomes more restful, and the animals respond. There is something so gentle about that. The world changing its pace without asking anyone's permission. The night falling like a curtain made of velvet. And if you let your mind rest in this image, your own thoughts may begin to slow too. Not because you force them, but because the atmosphere invites them. Sometimes, I think our bodies understand these cues better than our minds do. The dimness, the quiet, the steady temperature, the sense that the world is safe enough to close your eyes. It's like an ancient agreement between living creatures in the night. When darkness arrives softly, we soften too. If we add humor, it's barely a whisper here. Even the stones seem relaxed. They've had practice. Years and years of practice. They're basically professionals at being still. Tonight, you can join the stones. Let your breathing become like the easing wind. Let your thoughts become like the smoothing water, moving gently, without sharp turns. Inhale, like a breeze slowing down. Exhale, like water settling into calm. If a thought comes, let it pass like a leaf floating downstream. You don't need to grab it. You don't need to name it. You can simply watch it drift away until it becomes part of the distance. And as the forest continues its quiet descent into night, you can feel yourself descending too, into softness, into safety, into the simple comfort of being here. Nothing is required, nothing is urgent. The world is dim and kind, just wind easing, just water smoothing, just you loosening gently into rest. As the night deepens, the forest begins to feel like a lullaby you can stand inside. The air grows a little cooler, but not sharply, more like a calm hand resting on your forehead. The sounds thin out, leaving only the softest ones behind. A distant insect note, a faint movement in leaves, water in the background, breathing slowly. And in the middle of all this, the chipmunk's idea of safety becomes beautifully simple. Go home. Return to the burrow. Settle into the leaf-lined nest. Let the world dim outside while the inside remains steady. Tonight, you can borrow that feeling, not as a metaphor you have to analyze, but as a comfort you can simply accept. Imagine gently that you have a burrow too. Not underground, not literal, just a small place of quiet inside your chest. A place where your thoughts don't need to perform, a place where you don't have to be on. You can picture it however you like. A little chamber lined with softness, lit by a warm, low glow. The walls are steady and calm. The floor is leaf soft. The air inside is warm and safe. And every time you breathe out slowly, it's like you're stepping deeper into that quiet. Sometimes I notice that the human body already knows how to make these safe spaces. We curl under blankets. We dim lights. We lower our voices. We soften our muscles. We do all the little things that tell the nervous system it's all right to rest now. The chipmunk does this too, in its own way. It doesn't argue with its need for shelter. It simply returns. It trusts. It settles. And there's something tender about that trust. It makes me feel a little emotional, in the gentle sense. Like I want to thank the forest for being steady enough to allow rest. The world can be loud, but nature keeps offering quiet places over and over. If we allow the smallest hint of humor, soft as a feather, imagine a chipmunk tucking itself in like it's following a bedtime routine. Nest prepared. Snacks stored. Drama canceled. Truly inspirational. Now let your own body mirror that simplicity. Loosen your shoulders. Let your jaw relax. Let your breath become slower, like warm air filling a small, cozy room. Inhale, like returning to shelter. Exhale, like sinking into softness. If your thoughts try to follow you inside, let them come. There's room, but they can also curl up quietly, like sleepy animals, and become still. You don't need to push anything away. You only need to settle. The forest is settling. The chipmunk is settling. And you too can rest in a quiet burrow of calm, right here. Our question has been with us like a small lantern in the dark. What does it mean to feel safe in a place? And now, as the night grows softer, the question doesn't need to be answered in words. It can fade into a feeling, like fog thinning as it drifts through the trees, leaving behind only the gentle coolness of the air. Safety in the forest isn't a loud certainty. It's quiet confidence. It's the steady presence of shelter. It's a familiar path underfoot. It's the sense that the world, for this moment, is calm enough to rest inside. Chipmunks teach us that safety can be built gently, not through grand gestures, but through routine, through returning, through small acts of care, gathering, storing, nesting, pausing. Their lives form a soft pattern that says, again and again, here is a place where the body can loosen. As we drift, you can let the forest imagery become simpler, softer, more blurred, fewer details, fewer facts, just sensation, a cool breeze, a smooth blanket of darkness, a distant water sound like a steady lullaby note. Fog moves slowly through the undergrowth. It wraps around roots. It slides past stones. It doesn't hurry. It doesn't cling. It just drifts, and the forest lets it be. Tonight, you can let your thoughts be like that fog. Thoughts may appear, float by, then thin out again. You don't have to follow them. You don't have to solve them. You can let them drift until they become part of the quiet. Inhale, like drawing in cool, clean air. Exhale, like releasing a soft cloud. And if a feeling rises, tenderness, relief, a little heaviness leaving the chest, you can let it happen naturally. Nature often brings emotions up without demanding explanation. The forest doesn't ask why the fog exists. It simply holds it. Even now, the world feels less sharp. The edges of leaves blur. The distance feels farther away. The present moment becomes the only gentle thing you need to notice. Your breath, your body, the quiet, a tiny hint of humor, barely audible in spirit. The fog is basically the forest's blanket, very committed to coziness, very good at its job. And so, we let the question fade. Not because it doesn't matter, but because tonight, its answer is simple. Safety can be this soft. Safety can be this quiet. Safety can be the permission to stop thinking and start drifting. The forest continues, calm and steady. The chipmunk rests, tucked in. And you can let yourself rest too, carried by fog, by darkness, by the gentle certainty that the night is kind. Now we enter the part of the night where the story doesn't need to do much. It only needs to be soft. The forest is dim and gentle, like a room lit by a single candle. The air is smooth against your skin. The trees stand quietly, not as guards, but as calm companions. The ground, covered in leaves and moss, looks like it's been made specifically for resting thoughts. Somewhere in the distance, water continues its slow movement, steady, low, comforting. Not calling for attention, simply existing as a background rhythm. It feels like the earth's own breathing. Chipmunks, with their tidy routines and cozy shelters, are now only a faint presence in the scene, resting, tucked away, held by the soil and roots. Their world has narrowed to warmth, stillness, and the quiet security of being hidden in a familiar place. And yours can narrow too. You don't have to hold the whole day anymore. You can let it dissolve, let it soften like shadows blending into dark. Let it become unimportant, like a distant sound that fades as you fall asleep. Notice your breath now, not forcing it, just noticing. Inhale, slow and easy. Exhale, long and gentle. If your mind offers you a thought, you can treat it like a leaf floating by. You can see it, then let it go. No grabbing, no arguing, just letting it drift out of view. Sometimes, when I imagine a quiet woodland like this, I feel a kind of emotional safety that's hard to find in busy places. It's the feeling of being allowed to exist without expectations, to simply be a living creature resting in the night. That's all. No performance, no proving, just being. And if we allow a tiny lullaby joke, soft as a whisper into a pillow, even the trees look like they're practicing deep breathing. Very slow, very professional. Honestly, they're setting a good example. Now the imagery becomes simpler. Dark trees, smooth air, quiet ground, a soft world. Let your shoulders sink. Let your tongue rest. Let your forehead smooth. Inhale, like warm air filling a small burrow. Exhale, like settling deeper into leaf-soft bedding. If you can't hold the images anymore, that's perfectly fine. You don't need to. You can let the pictures blur. You can let the words become background sound. You can let sleep arrive whenever it wants, the way dusk arrives, without announcement, without effort. The forest stays steady. The night stays kind, and everything slows and softens and becomes just quiet enough for you to drift. The night is full of sounds that don't ask anything from you. A distant bird call, soft and far away. The faint chorus of insects, like a quiet hum. Water moving somewhere beyond the trees, steady and low. These sounds feel like the forest's way of saying, "You're not alone," without making it dramatic. Chipmunks are hidden now, tucked beneath the earth in the private quiet of their burrows, but their presence still belongs to the night, the way seeds belong to soil even before they sprout. The forest holds them, and the forest can hold you too, in this gentle imagined space. Belonging doesn't have to be loud. It can be simple. It can be the feeling of being allowed to rest where you are, like sitting by a campfire that doesn't crackle too hard, just a warm glow, steady and calm. If you feel anything in your chest, softness, gratitude, a quiet sadness releasing, let it happen without explanation. Nature makes room for feelings. The forest doesn't rush them. It doesn't label them. It simply lets them move through like wind through branches. Your breath continues, steady and slow. Inhale, like drawing in a quiet sense of safety. Exhale, like letting your body sink heavier into rest. The images can be very simple now. Dark trees, soft ground, a thin ribbon of water sound in the distance, the night sky above, deep and gentle, like velvet. And if your mind tries to wander into lists and plans, you can let those plans become distant too. They can live somewhere else for now, like faraway stars. Present, but not close enough to bother you. A tiny micro-humor, only if it feels like a lullaby. Even the rocks seem settled into their favorite positions. They have had a lot of time to pick. No regrets, just stillness. Let your breathing become even slower, as if you're drifting on warm air. Let your shoulders melt downward. Let your face loosen into softness. If you're awake, you can listen. If you're sleepy, you can drift. If you're already halfway into dreams, you can let the words fade. The forest continues its gentle rhythm, wind easing, water smoothing, distant calls softening. Everything feels like it belongs. And you belong too, simply because you are here. No effort, no urgency. Only the quiet comfort of being part of a world that knows how to rest. Now we let the story become a repetition, not a boring repetition, a soothing one. Leaves, water, breath. A leaf settles on the ground, weightless, like a thought that finally stops trying. Water continues in the distance, steady and quiet, like a calm heartbeat. Your breath moves in and out, slow and gentle, like the tide. Leaves, water, breath. Chipmunks remain tucked away in their hidden rooms under the earth. Their world is narrowed to the softness of nesting material and the quiet security of being sheltered. There's a tenderness in that image, small lives resting in the arms of the forest. Leaves, water, breath. You can let your body become heavier, not forced, just naturally heavier, as if gravity is finally allowed to do its peaceful work. Your shoulders sink, your hands soften, your legs loosen, your face smooths. Inhale, like air moving through trees. Exhale, like a leaf landing softly. Leaves, water, breath. If a thought appears, you don't have to chase it. Let it float, let it drift, let it dissolve into the night like mist. You don't need to do anything with your mind. You can simply let it be quiet, like a dark pond under moonlight. Leaves, water, breath. Sometimes, when I imagine a landscape this calm, I feel an emotion that's almost like being cared for. Not by a person, by the world itself, by the steadiness of nature, by the quiet confidence that the night will keep turning and turning, whether or not I'm watching it. And if we allow the smallest smile, chipmunks have their snacks stored, their bedding arranged, and their whole vibe is do not disturb. It's a lifestyle, a very sleepy lifestyle. Leaves, water, breath. Now the words can fade whenever you want them to. You can stop listening closely. You can let the sound of this narration become like distant water, present but not demanding. Your mind can slip away from language and into softness. Inhale, exhale, leaves, water, breath. And as you drift, remember the fixed final lines waiting ahead like a quiet sign at the end of a path. We'll reach them gently. No rush, no pressure. Just a slow, natural glide towards sleep, like fog settling, like wind easing, like the forest becoming a soft, steady hush. The forest is now almost entirely made of softness. Not a softness you have to imagine too hard, just a natural quiet that seems to spread everywhere when the world stops trying to be bright. The trees are dark shapes, calm and patient. The ground is a gentle blanket of leaves. The air is smooth, cool, and steady, like a slow hand smoothing the surface of water. Somewhere, far away, a night sound appears and fades again. Not a call for attention, just a reminder that life is still here, still breathing, still turning quietly in the dark. Chipmunks remain tucked in their hidden rooms beneath the roots. They are not busy now. They are simply resting, held by earth and leaf-soft bedding. Their stored food is nearby, like a comforting thought they don't need to think about. Their little world has become small and safe, and that safety feels like a warm, quiet glow. And you can let your world become small and safe too. If your mind has been stretching out toward worries, you can let it fold back in, like a blanket pulled gently over the shoulders. You don't have to reach for anything tonight. You don't have to fix the day. You can let the day rest where it belongs, in the past, already done. Inhale, slow, easy, like air moving through pine needles. Exhale, long, gentle, like the forest settling deeper. The words can be less important now. You can listen loosely, the way you listen to rain, present, but not requiring your focus. If you're drifting, let yourself drift. If you're still awake, let yourself be comfortable in that too. The night has plenty of room for you, whichever way you arrive. Sometimes there's a quiet emotion that comes with this kind of calm, like relief or tenderness, or the sense that you've finally been given permission to stop holding everything up. If you feel that, let it spread gently, like warm water, like a slow sunrise inside the chest, but dimmer, softer, sleepy. And if we add the tiniest micro-humor, only as a lullaby, even the moon looks like it's trying not to wake anyone. Very considerate. 5 stars. Now, everything slows. Your breathing becomes the main rhythm. Inhale, exhale. Let your jaw relax. Let your shoulders sink. Let your hands loosen. The forest holds steady around you. Dark trees, quiet air, distant water, and beneath it all, the earth feels solid and dependable, like a calm promise. Nothing needs to happen right now. If sleep is near, let it come. If it's already here, let the words fade as you drift under. Now, we let the last images return, softly, like familiar footsteps on a quiet path. Leaves on the ground, layered like pages in a slow book. a ribbon of water moving somewhere beyond the trees, fog drifting low, as if the earth is exhaling, moonlight resting lightly on grass, turning everything into silver hush. Somewhere beneath the roots, the chipmunk's burrow remains quiet and warm, a small nest, leaf-lined, shaped for rest, a pantry of stored comfort nearby. The chipmunk's world is safe, simple and dim. No effort, no planning, just the steady, gentle truth of being held. And you are held too, by your bed, by the quiet of this moment, by the slow rhythm of your breath. Inhale, like the evening wind settling. Exhale, like water smoothing. If thoughts appear, let them soften. Let them drift out of focus. Let them become background, like distant forest sounds. You don't have to follow them. You don't have to answer them. You can let your mind wander gently through the quiet wild, and if it wanders into sleep, that is perfectly all right. Sometimes I imagine the whole world as a patient thing, turning slowly, offering night after night, giving us endless chances to rest. And that thought makes me feel quietly grateful, not in a grand way, just in a small human way, like whispering thank you into the dark. The forest continues, the water continues, the wind eases, the leaves stay where they are, and everything feels softer now. Even the idea of time feels less sharp. The night is spacious. It doesn't rush you. It simply invites you to drift, to settle, to loosen. If we allow the final hint of micro-humor, soft as a lullaby, even the stones seem relaxed. They've had practice. Now, let the images become fewer. Let the sounds become dimmer. Let the words become gentle background. Breath in, breath out. And as we close, we hold the final lines the way the forest holds the night. Steady, calm, and kind. Everything flows through the wild. Sleep in that motion.